Where do we come from is one of life's most basic questions. And how we answer that question could, to a large extent, determine where we are going. Some people believe that life came about by evolution and that no one deserves credit for it. Others believe in creation, but know little or nothing about the Creator. Still others may not give the question, where do we come from, any thought at all. In this video series, you will meet a variety of people who at one time believed in the evolution of life or had unclear ideas about how life came to be. Most of them had scientific or cultural backgrounds that formed the basis for their beliefs. Jehovah's Witnesses agree with the Bible verse at Romans 1:20, which says that God's invisible qualities are clearly seen from the world's creation onward, because they are perceived by the things made, even His eternal power and Godship. In each video, you'll hear how someone came to agree with the existence of a Creator, and you'll learn something about what they observed that changed their thinking. The video series is entitled Viewpoints on the Origin of Life.
My name is Davy Loos. I studied biochemistry at the University of Leuven in Belgium. And after that time I did a PhD in the same area. When I was a young child I believed in the Bible. But growing up I kind of lost my interest in it. When you go to university and you study life sciences or biochemistry, for example, you get introduced into the idea of the origin of life very quickly, and also into the principle of evolution. The professors who taught these courses, they were really scientists with long careers, and they were well-established scientists, and we had a lot of respect for them, so there was just no way to really question the principle of evolution. In 1999 there was a war in Europe, in Kosovo, and I remember reading in the Bible as a child about the future events that would take place. And I started wondering whether the war in Kosovo was one of those events, so that led me to pick up the Bible again. At the time I felt that I had to re-examine my beliefs about the origin of life and also about the principle of evolution. Based on the theory of evolution, we would expect to see an abundance of transitional forms to be present in the fossil record. But when we do look at the fossil evidence, we just don't see that. We see that the major species come into existence at specific times, and their form and structure is still exactly the same as their form and structure today. It was actually Darwin himself who wrote in his book that the biggest objection that could be brought against his theory would be the fact that the fossil record does not show an abundance of transitional forms. And that's what really happened. If you look at the set of data, the fossil record seems to prove the opposite of evolution. As a biochemist, I had the opportunity to learn about and study many different biomolecules. And I observed that pretty much every biomolecule is really a complex molecule. We can look at them as nanoscale molecular motors or machines that are performing very complex and specific tasks. For me, the complexity that we see in nature and the complexity in those molecules points to the fact that there really is a creator.
My name is Peter Musney. I studied law in different universities in Europe, in France, England, Czech Republic, and eventually I had my PhD, which I defended in 2004. I have become a doctor of law. I was born in former Czechoslovakia under the communist regime, where religion or religious beliefs were not promoted, and also the thought of God being a creator of the universe was considered as a nonsense. Concerning evolution, I would say, merely following the mainstream of thinking that I came to realize that we should really question things that are around us, all the theories and explanations that are given. That we shouldn't take as granted all that we hear, and especially when somebody says that this thing is obvious or evident, so just don't question, obey, or listen to it. I'm now a specialist in law and in logic, human thinking. And there is one basic principle which pervades the whole universe, is the principle of cause and effects. So every effect around us must have a cause. You walk in a forest, and there, right in the middle of the forest, you see a bench. The bench is the effect. What is the cause? Is this accidental or deliberate? Somebody must have made it, because the principle is something designed must have a designer. For me, when I see such a diversity of flowers, of trees, of butterflies, I come to the conclusion the one who put that law of diversity was there to tell us, please enjoy life. Because life was beautiful, somebody who created it must be somebody having beautiful qualities. Thanks to the study of the Bible, I could put a picture, a face, symbolically speaking, to the one who created life.
My name is Massimo Tistarelli. Well, I have a degree in electronical engineering, and then I have a PhD in robotics and computer science. I believe in evolution because when I was studying, it was taken for granted in the school and all the teachings, So I thought that the proofs that were given were really substantiated by physical measures. In my field of science is computer vision. What I try to do is to design machines based on computers that try to replicate the perceptual ability of a human visual system that can identify people from their faces if the expression doesn't change too much, if there is not too much makeup and so on. But let's look what a human does. A human can recognize faces since a few hours after birth and can do very precisely, very fast, and in any different condition, regardless of the age or facial expressions or environment or whatever. I've given always science first place. Everything that was based on proof and based on science was most important. The reason why I started to question my belief in evolution is because I discovered that what I was taught was not really based on real proof, but it was mostly based on some theories that were an interpolation more than on real measurements. The complexity of nature, to me, is a clear evidence of a need or the existence of a designer. I don't know any complex mechanism or device which has been conceived by humans, by engineers, that was not made by a designer.
My name is Monica Richardson. I studied genetics and chemistry and then medicine in Stockholm, Sweden. I believed in evolution because of my education. Everybody did. It was something I never doubted. It was taught as a scientific fact. And even those who perhaps believed that there was a God, believed that this God would have used evolution in the creation process. I want to talk about the miracle of birth. Now, during pregnancy, the baby is supplied oxygen via the placenta, but at birth it will have to use its lungs. In the womb, the baby's lungs are collapsed. After birth, they have to become inflated. Now, this is a very hard work for the baby to do. So, during the latter part of pregnancy, there is a very special chemical produced and secreted called a pulmonary surfactant. And that chemical is being deposited on the surface of the peripheral parts of the lungs where the gas exchange is taking place to lower the surface tension. And that means that when the baby is born and starts to inflate its lungs, he can do it. One wonders, is this a result of a clever, intelligent conception and design, or could it have happened by chance? Well, it was when the witnesses called on me that I really got encouraged to, for the first time in my life, look into the Bible. Life around us is so cleverly designed. I can't believe there is a design without a designer.
My name is Rocío Picado Herrero. I studied chemistry at the University of Salamanca in Spain. I specialize in organic chemistry. This field focuses on the study of the carbon atom and all the compounds that are derived from this atom. I believed that life came about through evolution. I remember seeing a picture in a natural science book that depicted the embryos of different vertebrates. And in the early stages of development, the similarities were outstanding. But when I started studying at the university, I began studying in detail the process on which the evolution theory is based. To my surprise, I discovered that these processes were not proven facts. As a chemist, I'm fascinated by the distribution of atoms within a molecule. It is interesting to note that in most living creatures, whether human, animal, or plant life, the basic proteins required for life are made up of a carefully interwoven collection of amino acids. And with the exception of glycine, all these amino acids have two forms called D and L. These two forms are each a mirror image of the other, just as the right hand is a mirror image of the left, but that cannot be superimposed. And what is really striking is that all the amino acids that make up these proteins belong only to the L series. So I asked myself, how is it possible for blind chance to make all the amino acids that are essential for life belong solely to the L series? I reached the conclusion that there had to be a higher power, a creator. Even though I had a religious upbringing, my ideas were not clear as to who God was. I merely viewed him as a supreme being before whom we would be held accountable. The Bible is not a science textbook. Its purpose is not to describe the universe we live in or the laws that regulate our universe. But when it does mention science and when it discusses scientific matters, it does so with great accuracy. And undoubtedly, the greatest benefit is that it allows me to enjoy a personal relationship with the creator of the universe, a universe that fascinates me from a scientific perspective.
My name is Yaroslav Dovanic. I received my degree from the biology department of the Ujgorod State University and specialized in zoology. I love nature very much and want to protect it. The evolutionary theory, in my opinion, quite reasonably argued that there is no creator, that everything was shaped by a series of random changes and combinations. I was unable to prove this, but I believed it. And that is why I was an evolutionist. I was a staunch evolutionist. While working in the Carpathian Biosphere Reserve and studying how ecological systems function, I studied nature through the lens of the evolution theory. When I studied nature through this lens, I began to notice things that contradicted the theory of evolution. I found things that couldn't have been formed by natural selection. As I started to wonder about this, whether there is a creator, I began to discover more facts contradicting the theory of evolution. Can anyone say that some computer programs appeared simply by chance? In contrast, evolutionists would like us to believe that DNA was formed by evolution. To illustrate, say you take some letter blocks, pour them onto the table, and the Encyclopedia Britannica is formed. there is an even smaller probability that DNA originated by evolution. When I started to seriously consider the possibility that the world might have been created, I began to meditate about the following. I knew that religion explains that the world was created by God. So I decided to examine different religious teachings, including what the Bible says, about how God created the world. The Bible is very old, thousands of years old, and yet its contents are accurate and authentic to this day. And the Bible contains many prophecies. These are the foretelling of events. They were to occur in the distant future, sometimes many centuries in the future. History confirms that they have been fulfilled exactly as the Bible foretold. So these predictions must have been made by someone whose abilities are far greater than man's. This proves that the author of the Bible is not men, but someone who is far wiser and has abilities which man lacks.
My name is Ángel Santaliestra Fierro. I studied medicine and surgery at the Central University and the Hospital Clínico of Barcelona. Childbirth is awe-inspiring. For example, when a mother's efforts culminate in childbirth, that intimate bond formed between a mother and its baby is something I will never get tired of seeing, even though I've witnessed it dozens of times. I was born into a devout Catholic family. From the moment I started studying at the university, everything I learned was in favor of evolution. These studies impacted me, even though I didn't have a strong foundation in evolution. But deep inside me, I believed in evolution. But I didn't have much of an alternative. Perhaps my own selfishness was also to blame because I didn't have to answer to God for my conduct. I could do things that I had been told as a boy were forbidden. And so the figure of God slowly began to crumble in my mind. I read a book entitled Life. How did it get here? By evolution or by creation? Well, I read through the whole book that very same day, and I saw so much evidence that I immediately wanted to show the book to my colleagues at the hospital. At the time, I was still finishing my specialized training in pediatrics. Some of them called me a heretic. For me, that book marked the beginning of my belief in an alternative to the theory of evolution. We all started, both you and I, every single human being as a single cell. But this single cell did not just produce a human. It also produced the placenta. For a mother, it's foreign tissue, and yet it allows her to transfer all the life and potential she has to her unborn child. This is truly amazing. It must have required a lot for somebody to have designed something like this. This encourages me to believe that a creator exists. I can only conclude that it is worth the effort to spend time getting to know the person who designed it.
My name is Rajesh Kalaria.
Ich heiße Rajesh Kalaria. Ich wuchs als nomineller Hindu auf und meine Eltern waren Hindus. Aus Respekt vor ihnen ging ich mit, aber ich verstand nicht wirklich, was es mit dem Hinduismus auf sich hatte. Ich studierte Medizin. Ich habe akademische Titel in Pathologie und Neurowissenschaften erworben. Die Lehre der Evolution war Teil meines Studiums. Damals gab es für mich gar keine Alternative. Gott trat dabei nicht in Erscheinung, auch nicht als Schöpfer von Himmel und Erde. Das passte einfach nicht ins Bild. Das Gehirn ist ein äußerst komplexes Organ. Es macht uns aus, wer wir sind, du und ich. Ohne Gehirn kein Leben. So ist das einfach. Dann nahmen wir uns die Nervenzellen vor im Hinblick auf Volumen und Anzahl. Das Phänomen besteht darin, dass sich in diesem kleinen Teil des Gehirns 1,4 Milliarden Neuronen befinden. Und die Anzahl der Verbindungen, die da entstehen, die Synapsen, einfach phänomenal. Wenn man also über die Komplexität des Ganzen nachdenkt, wie kann sowas einfach durch Zufall entstehen? Das muss gesteuert worden sein. Ich kam dann mit der Bibel in Berührung. Und das, was mich damals am stärksten beeindruckt hat, war, dass es nur einen Gott gibt. Bei meinem Hindu-Hintergrund mit Millionen von Göttern und der Dreieinigkeit war alles so geheimnisvoll und voller Mythen. Da hat mir der Gedanke eines einzigen Gottes wirklich zugesagt. Die Bibel gibt uns auch inneren Frieden. Sie gibt uns einen wirklichen Sinn im Leben.
My name is Eden Hofler-Hanso. I studied medicine at the University of Zurich in Switzerland, and afterwards I specialized in orthopedic surgery. I didn't believe in a creator because I believed that the species came into existence through evolution. By comparing the anatomies of various organisms, we recognized similarities. To me, it was logical that there was a link between these similarities, that it indicated that we descend from a common ancestor. After my studies in medicine, I worked in hospitals, in surgical departments. In orthopedics, a large part of orthopedics involves the insertion of prosthetics to replace joints that are sick or no longer work. Because the knee not only bends and straightens, there is also a sliding movement, a small rotation. With a prosthetic knee, we cannot achieve the complete mobility of a normal, healthy knee. If we see someone skating or dancing, we have to believe that there is a designer who is superior to us. For a foot to function properly, there has to be harmony between the joints, the tendons, the muscles, and the nervous system. It's difficult to imagine that it could be the result of evolution. When someone came to my home to speak about the Bible, I found the arguments in favor of creation more logical. Also, I learned there are renowned scientists who have doubts themselves about the theory of evolution. By studying the Bible, I came to better know who God is. It's like food. You have to taste it to know if it's good. Likewise, you have to study the Bible to realize that what it says is true.